Yeah, welcome everyone. Judith, Duncan, Keith, Christine, you joining one by one. Fenny, yes. Hello, Oka. Hello, Roger. And Simon's just connecting. Let's wait for Simon to come in. Yeah, welcome, Simon. Okay, welcome, Charlene. Good. Okay, I think we can start. So last time we were looking at I hope I've got this right. Verse 2 of the Mangala Sutta, which we had done part of. I think, I'm sorry, I ought to have made a better note than I did. Had we kind of been through all the vocabulary and grammar in it, had we reached the recitations of it? Goodness me, I'm glad I'm not alone and not quite remembering where where we'd reached then. Welcome, Paladin. Okay, Paladin, are you able to remember exactly where we'd reached in the Mangala Sutta last time? If you can remember exactly where we reached, you'll be the only one here who does. Goodness me. Okay. Never mind. In that case, we might be able to recap just a little bit. So I'll just read it through once. Maybe it'll go into a slightly chanty mode because I'm used to chanting this quite a lot. So Bahudeva Manusacha Mangalani Achintayum. Welcome, Mariano. Much Mangala may you bring us. I'm doing the Mangala Sutta, okay? Akankamana Suttanam Bruhi Mangalam Uttamam. So Bahudeva, many devas. Remember, Bahu is much or many. For a singular, it means much, a plural, obviously many. And it declines like any other nominal ending in U. So Bahudeva, many devas, Manusacha, and humans. Mangalani Achintayum have considered, thought about Mangalani. What are the best Mangalani to have in life? Akankamana Suttanam, desirous of, again, means well-being. Then Bruhi Mangalam Uttamam. Last time round, as best I recall, I was explaining Manusa, Sanskrit Manushya, meaning a human being, a descendant of Manu, the kind of within Hindu creation theory, the kind of the original human being. And I ventured to suggest maybe I stuck my neck out a bit here, because Roger then asked me whether I was saying that shya, there's a specific suffix shya. I think it was you who asked me, Roger, from Manu to Manushya. Yes,
Yeah.
hello, Sanyu, hello.
That's correct, Jake.
Yeah. And I did not strike lucky. Now, but it occurred to me that if we have Manu, okay, there's no dispute about Manu from that same root man. Manu is the primordial man, also known as the Adi Purusha. in Sanskrit. Adi, beginning, Purusha, man, the Adi Purusha, the primordial human. And it occurred to me that this ending Shya could not mean anything but a descendant of Manu. It means a human being, and that's what it does mean. But to find it as a standard suffix, I didn't strike lucky. Maybe it's a one-off kind of suffix, which would be unusual. But there it is. Maybe it's one of those things until I can find out more. Maybe it's one of those things we just have to take it as is. So we know Manu is the primordial man, and cognate with our English word man. And Manushya is, as it were, son of man, son of Manu. So until I find out more, we'll just have to accept that as is. Did I explain the Suttanam?
James, is it possible to put the sutta up?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Oh, I haven't shared screen yet. My bad. Here we go. Share screen one, share.
You said Swasti Ayatana, is it?
Yes, it is. Hang on, let me just. Okay, do you have shared screen for the iPad? Okay, fine. I will now call up the Sutta Mangala Sutta. There we are. Okay, is it there with you now? Thank you. Okay. Welcome, Judy. So Suttanam. It's derived from just su and asti. Oops. So I have trouble with my pen. Oops. So I think it might be time for a new iPad soon. Ah, don't know what's gone wrong. Sorry. Pen's charged up. Okay. Okay. There we are. That's better. It's the su, meaning good or well, anything that's good, that prefix su. And asti, as we know, is, in Pali, is ati. It is both an indeclinable and a feminine noun. Let me explain. So in Sanskrit, su asti becomes swasti. And just as an indeclinable, it's used as a greeting. Just swasti, well-being, like a greeting to somebody. May well-being be upon you. And it's also a feminine noun, meaning well-being. It's rather like and because in Pali, by phonetic mutation, that becomes sutti, swasti, sutti. It's the same word. Those of you who know any Thai, where you say sawati, sawatika, or sawatika, depending on the man or woman. Sawati, that's the Thai version of that sound. So when the Thais say sawati, they're saying swasti, derived from the Sanskrit form, by the way, that they're using rather than the Pali one. Sanyu, do you have a similar greeting in Burmese? In Thai, they say sawatikal, sawatika. Do you say a similar thing in Burmese as a greeting?
Not at all.
Okay, right.
Use the word Mengala.
Okay, yeah, right. Would you use that as a greeting if when Burmese, would you say Mangala as a greeting?
Yes,
Okay, very good. Okay, got it. Lovely.
exactly.
Okay. But although etymologically those two words are entirely different, there's a big overlap in meaning. Sawati in Thai or Mangala in Burmese, you would be saying essentially the same thing. And as I mentioned, by derivation, the swastika is the Brahmin who gives blessings at a ceremony, and then came to mean the sign of well-being, the mark of well-being. And by an act of deplorable cultural appropriation in 1933, the Nazi Party took over the sign and the word. They took over the Sanskrit word. So the swastika, in fact, has a very venerable lineage, and it is a word of great blessing. Hopefully, it will regain its rightful place. So, Akankamana Sultanam. The Sultanam then is the genitive plural. So akankamana, just as in English we would say desirous of something. So in exactly the same way we would say akankamana, desirous of these blessings. Incidentally, I said that swasti is both an indeclinable, that's just a word used on its own as a greeting, and it's also a noun. It's very much like the word sadhu, same in Sanskrit and Pali. Oops. The sadhu has two functions. One is an indeclinable, just at the end of a meeting, or after chanting the blessing, say sadhu, typically 3 times, sadhu, 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 means well done, well said, I agree. A bit like the Christian amen. Same will be back to Hebrew. Amen. So it has that meaning, and also as an ordinary noun ending in u, it has the meaning, well, the word has come into English, a sadhu, typically a Hindu holy man. The underlying meaning is a bit like achievement, hitting the mark. The sadhu is one who goes for the goal. So the sadhu, who by his spiritual practices goes for the goal, the objective, the artha in Pali, the artha, the goal of the spiritual life. And sadhu is a bit like saying you've hit the mark. That is right. I agree. Right speech, well said. And uttamam, I think I may have explained. Did I explain uttamam last time? Goodness me, it was we missed 2 weeks in succession, so it's been quite a long time. Anyway, uttamam.
I think you did, James. I'm pretty sure I remember you explaining that.
I did explain it, did I? Okay, very good. Would you like to explain to the class briefly exactly what I said, Paladin? Aren't I wicked?
Oh gosh, I've got notes somewhere. It was yeah, you went through ut and then uttara and uttama.
Okay, jolly good. So this is one where modern English reflects the ut meaning up or out, and English outer or utter, which are originally the same word, means outer, further out. And uttama is utmost. Uttama and utmost are etymologically the same word. Uttara, outer, further up. Also, it came to mean northern. So that's why, for example, in modern India, you have Uttar Pradesh, it's pronounced. in Sanskrit and Pali would have been Uttara Pradesha, the northern region. It would often just abbreviate to UP nowadays, Uttar Pradesh. Often it's often negated, Anuttaro Purisadamma Sarati Sattadeva Manusanam. Anuttaro. Anuttara means often translated as incomparable. So Uttara means further out. It also has the meaning of getting better and better. So if somebody, a thing or a person is Anuttara, that means there is nothing better than it. So if you are the Anuttaro Purisadammasarati, the unequaled, unsurpassed charioteer of people to be tamed, that is the Anuttara. There is nothing further out than that, therefore incomparable or best. So we can have a couple of recitations, but before we do, were there any queries or comments on it?
Yeah, could I ask 3 quick questions about it?
Please do, Simon.
Yeah, the first one, am I right in saying that Sotanam is the nominative singular in this one?
Sultanum. No, in fact, it's grammatically. I put N2S, haven't I?
I think
Have I mucked up on that one?
because the noun is Sotana, and I think it's just the nominative.
Oh, sorry. I did my poor old brain. I was drifting off. I was asleep at the wheel. I apologize for being asleep at the wheel. It's Swastiayana. I've explained it. Do you know? I'm wondering if old age is catching up, because I actually explained it on this sheet that you've all got in front of you and we have up here. And I was then just slipping into looking at it as the generative plural. It is, of course, Swastiayana. You're right, Simon. Cancel what I said about that.
The other point, I mean, I raised before, I think the week before we had the break, and about the word achintayum. Now, you said that, and I thought it might be something different, and you quite rightly said it couldn't be what I thought it was. It's the aorist because it's got the augment, so it's not just chinteti. It's got the augment showing that it's in the past.
Yeah.
Just to look at this in a slightly different way, and I don't know whether the grammar would bear this out, the whole kind of thrust of this sutta seems to be about, it's almost kind of ironic, that people were looking for auspices, kind of good signs, lucky entrails of chickens and things. And the Buddha was saying that really you should be doing good stuff in the present, or you should have done good stuff in the past.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the phrase was, that to have made merit in the past. Katapunyata.
Yes.
So,
Which occurs in, is it verse 4 or verse 3 or 4?
So I'm just thinking, there is this word achinteya, which is the achinteya, the imponderables, or the things which are not to be thought of or spoken about, or kind of pondered on, sorry, in a different...
Oh yeah, that would be a different that would be, you'd have an adjectival form, chinteya, to be pondered, achinteya, imponderable. Yeah, you're right. Carry on.
The first part here, which is the sort of achint, as it were. So it's like the not thinking. Could this be read as mangalani achintayum, so a third person plural, that many gods and humans should not think of these? We've been told not to put this, we've been told not to think about auspicious events because you're a new kind of spiritual teacher. But could you tell us what they really are? And then the Buddha tells them that these are basically doing good karma.
That's right. Okay. I would say it's very, very ingenious, But here we've got a verb. This is achintayum, is unmistakably a verb. It's a third person plural aorist. They have thought. You can't have the negating a with a verb. You can have it with nouns and adjectives.
No, what I'm saying is that the a is there meaning not thinking, as in a privative, as in achinteia, but it's in the optative saying they should not think. Many gods and humans should not think or should not speculate about these auspicious things. So it's optative rather than aorist. That's my point.
But if it's a verb at all, it can't have the negating a in front of it. You can.
Why not?
Well, I mean, if I were reinventing the Pali language, maybe I would allow it. But even then, no, probably I wouldn't, because it's just the negating prefix a, what we call the alpha privative from Greek, but it's the same effect as in Greek. It's used only with nominals, with nouns and adjectives, also with absolutive verbs as well, and with participles. But with a finite verb, which this is, you could never have the negating a with a verb, with a finite verb.
Okay, that's useful. Thank you.
And also another point is, in this verse, this is not what the Buddha is saying. This is what this Devata who came to consult the Buddha. So verse 2 is what the Devata is saying.
Yeah, I'm kind of assuming that it would be something like, we know from your teaching that these people, that gods and humans are not to speculate about auspicious events. However, are you going to really tell us?
Okay, I think what he's saying here is, okay, look, Buddha, we've spent a long time, us gods and you and mere mortals, we've all spent a lot of time thinking about this. Finally, I've come to ask you direct, please tell us now. And so I think what he's saying here is, look back at all these efforts, maybe false efforts, that we have put in thinking about what the Mangalam Uttamam, the Uttamam Mangalam is. Now, Bruhi, that's the imperative form, Bruhi, you now tell us, put an end to all these idle thoughts. So, as a matter of pure grammar, okay, that's my interpretation of what's happening here. But as a matter of pure grammar, this a in achintium, it has to be the augment. It can't be the alpha privative, the negating a.
Yeah, that sorts it. Thank you.
And if you go to word chinteya, means thinkable, to be thought about, then you could have achinteyam, something is achinteyam, not to be thought about. That's fine, because although it's derived from a verb, of course, chinteya would be an adjective, therefore can be negated by a.
So the final point, if I may, before when we were looking at, I think it was Lily de Silva, there was something about how the arkankati is similar to, it comes from the same root, like it's either to doubt, because we have like kankar, and also to hope for or to wish for. And you said there was a reason for this, and I can't remember it. It was 2 years ago.
I said that 2 years ago, did I? Okay. So arkankati is from the, I've done a note on it here. There is the root kanksh, which is a derivative root. It looks like, and according to Moni Williams, I think he's probably right here. It's from the root kam, from which we get kama, desire, and this is an extended root, not a primitive root. meaning to wish for or to hope for.
But kankati is without the R is to doubt, isn't it? To be uncertain. And they seem
Let's just double check this point now. In the oops, sorry if I missed it. Here we are. Fine. Yeah, it does. It seems I just call this up. It seems to have a double meaning. Oops. I don't know why this file so often does this to me. I call it up on the screen and I get only a quarter screen of it. Come on. Don't know why it's done this. Oh, here we are. So kankati, kanksh, and okay, to be uncertain or to doubt, and also with the accusative to expect or to look forward to. I'm now just going to call up Munya Williams. Okay, look what's happened here. It seems that the meaning of doubting may be an extension of the original meaning, but peculiar to Pali. That does occasionally happen. So this is now, this is Munya Williams, the Sanskrit one. So this is the kanksh connected with the root kam, from which you get karma, to desire, to wish for, wait for, and look for, which you can understand that extension. And it seems to me then that in Pali usage, that's an extended meaning. It's not part of the original Vedic meaning.
Bit of a strange leap, though, isn't it?
I'm sorry, say again, pardon?
A bit of a strange leap from desire to doubt.
Yeah, it's as if you're kind of, so you're saying it is a big leap. I wonder, you've got to go into say soft focus here. If you're desiring and looking for, so if you're constantly looking for something in your mind but not finding it, there could be a kind of a spillover into the idea of doubting. You're not saying I've got the answer, but you're constantly looking for it or hoping for something more. It's not entirely satisfactory. But it is a bit of a leap. It is a bit of a leap. I agree. It's not totally satisfactory. But if we look at the way it's used in this verse, it's clearly, they're desiring. They aren't doubting these blessings. They're desiring these things because that's the same verb, just with the verbal prefix "are," which is more the dynamic thing. Your mind is bending towards it, going towards it.
Something along the lines that if you are expecting or wanting something, you kind of doubt what there is in front of you, or you doubt the worth of what's pachupanna, what's already arisen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of halfway between Paladin and Simon here. It is a bit of a leap, but on the other hand, if you put yourself back into soft focus, you can see how there is kind of a development of meaning from one to the other.
I suppose if you shift it into a Buddhist context where the idea is that the thing you rely on, your desire is an unreliable thing, it's kind of intrinsic to that philosophy, isn't it? Which it might not have been in the Sanskrit.
I suppose that's right. Yeah.
So it kind of, I can sort of stretch it in soft focus, almost stretch it that far.
Yeah, I think it does. Let's agree that it does. Clearly, it does have that meaning because it does turn up with that meaning in Pali. So, I mean, we know as a fact that it does have that extended meaning in Pali, and we can speculate, I think, with a reasonable degree of certainty. That's putting it too high, but with plausibility, with a reasonable degree of plausibility. Now that we know what the end result was, we can have this reasonably plausible pathway to how the original meaning became the extended meaning. Okay, let's have a bit of a rest. Unless there are any more, we can have a rest. Let's have a recitation anyway, and any queries can be raised as we go along. Judith, you are first in my gallery.
Bahudeva Manusatra Mangalani Achintayam.
Now remember, achintayum, achintayum.
Achintayum.
Mm-hmm.
Kanika Kamanaha Sotanam Bruhi Mangalam Uttamam. Sorry, that's Mangal, really.
Okay, kankamana. So just say kank.
Kank.
No,
Kank.
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 So kankamana.
Kankamana.
There, got it. You see, you got it. That was perfect. And I say sultanam.
Sultanam.
Okay, right. Okay, very good. Keith, how about yourself?
Bahudeva Manusacha Mangalani Achintayum Akam Kamana Sultanam Ruhi Mangala Muttamang.
Just do the last pada once more, the last half line.
It's Bruhi.
Beginning Bruhi.
Bruhi Mangalam Uttamang.
Okay, right. You'd want actually to carry it through. In fact, if this were written in the Devanagari script, the M and the U, so I can't highlight it, M and the U would be written as Mangalamuttamam. So don't stop Mangalam Uttamam. Here, I would say it's almost an error not to carry it forward as if it one sound. And it's short, Galamu, three shorts, Mangalamuttamam. So would you like to say that? Because I know you're very keen on the exact longs and shorts and the Morse code principle. Just say Bruhi Mangalamuttamam.
Ruhi Mangalam Uttamang.
That's it. That you carry it. Okay, thank you, Keith. We're round to you, Christine.
Here we go. Bahudeva Manusanja Mangalani Achintayum Akankamana Sotanam Bruhi Mangalam Uttamam.
You fell into the native English speaker's trap. You see, we've got the heavy syllable kank, and therefore you, by the force of English phonetics, you wanted to shorten the a kunk. Remember, kunk. If it's long in Sanskrit and Pali, never be shy. In fact, be bold. Make it positive. Kankamana. Say.
Kankamana.
Very good. Exactly. So right. Good. Thank you, Christine. Finney, we're round to you.
I unmuted. Bahudeva.
Sorry.
Sorry. Bahudeva Manusa Chamangalani Achintayum. Akankamana Sultanam Bruhi Mangalamuttamam.
Okay, yeah, that was you got that absolutely right. Remember, Bruhi say, it's a bit of a funny, slightly irregular verb in Sanskrit, but the interesting point here is, as you know, it's very, very rare to see in Pali a consonant cluster, a stop with a r, br. It's rare in Pali to see that. Just occasionally it turns up. And bruhi, imperative from root bru, to say, is just one of these rare instances. You'd expect it, a Sanskrit bruhi, you'd expect it to turn up as buhi in Pali, but oddly, it just retains the r. Simon.
Is the word related to the Old English word to brute? as in Shakespearean, something is bruited about, spoken.
Bruited abroad, yes. If it was bruited abroad, means rumor has it that so and so. Now that brute actually, I wonder if it could be in the brute spelled B-R-U-I-T, isn't it? In fact, there's the French bruit, meaning noise. So the noise in the sense of the rumor. In fact, rumor originally means a noise, doesn't it? From Rigoletto, rumor di passi fuori, there is a sound of footsteps outside. Rumor di passi, the sound of footsteps. Is there an Italian equivalent, Mariano, of the French bruit, B-R-U-I-T, meaning noise?
I was thinking of it, but at the moment, apart from rumore, can't think of anything at the moment.
I can't offhand think. I'll check that one. It's an interesting point, Simon. The answer is I don't know, but it looks very good, doesn't it? It would be jolly good if it were true. If it brew meaning and specifically the noise of voices.
There's also a medical term, a brute. I think in America they call it bruit, which is spelt the same, which is the noise that. Have we got Roger here? Medical.
Yeah,
Roger, yes.
You're totally right, Simon. If it really means sounds in the chest, in the lungs, particularly bruits.
So how do you pronounce it in medical parlance?
Bruit.
Bruit. Which is just the French for noise. I hadn't known that. Okay. I will check that out and see whether I can find anything about it. Bruit. Yeah, but that medical usage of bruit, I'd never heard of that before. That's really interesting there.
The only thing, but it is a very, very, unlikely to be brutto, which means in the way of, aesthetics, it is noise, basically. It is the opposite of bello.
Yes.
But
brutto.
it is unlikely. Who knows?
Yeah, brutto. Let me just check that one. Of course, that from brutto, and in English we have a brute, brutish, meaning animal-like, but in a pejorative sense. I will check it out. I've made a note to check it for the next time. Right, where were we? Okay, well, Simon, would you like to have a recital of it?
Bahudeva manusacha mangalani achintayum akankamana sotanam bruhi mangalamuttamam.
Okay, very nice. Charlene, how about you?
Bahudeva manusacha mangalani achintayum akankamana sotanam bruhi mangalamuttamam.
That was near perfect, but can you just say that the word sultanam, emphasizing the double t, sultanam.
Sultanam.
That's perfect. Good. Thank you, Charlene. Sanyu, would you like to recite it?
Bahudeva manusa cha mangalani achintayam akankamana sutanam rohi mangalamuttamam.
Okay, wonderful. Apart from, did I hear you saying sultanam? It's more of a sultanam.
Sultanam.
Sultanam. Yeah. Remember that the A and the O are naturally long. In Sanskrit, they are always pronounced long, whatever follows, whether it's a double consonant. in Pali, they're naturally long. They are always long if they can be, but if it's followed by a double consonant, it's pronounced short. For example, metta, not me. In Sanskrit, it would be pronounced long, even followed by a double T. It would be pronounced metta in Sanskrit, but metta with a short e in Pali. So equally here, because it's pronounced with it's followed by a doubled T, it's the suttanam. If this were a Sanskrit word, it would be suttanam, long, even though followed by a double consonant. Okay, right. Judy, would you like to have a go?
Bahudeva Manusa Cha Mangalani Achintayam Akankamana Sotanang Bruhi Mangalang Utangam.
Okay, right. Now, be very careful of the longs and shorts. It is actually vital. So, say for example, akankamana, akankamana.
Akankamana.
Very good. And also, when you pronounce the word mangalam there, again, you're kind of switching into English phonetics a bit, where we'd want to say mangalam, but mangalam, mangalam.
Mangalang Utang.
Right.
Uttamang.
Mangalam uttamam.
Mangalang Uttamang.
Right. And one of the best examples of the important difference between the long and the short is bala and bala, which are completely different. Well, we can hear them as different sounds as well. You say bala and bala. Can you repeat bala, bala?
Sorry, can you say again?
Can you just repeat the words bala and bala?
Mala and bala.
So is bala with a B. B for Bravo. Bala and bala.
Bala and mala.
Bala. So these are I mean, this shows the importance of the longs and the short, because bala means strength. Bala means a fool. Originally meant a child, and by extension, especially in Pali, means a fool. Just shows the vital importance of the longs and the shorts. So we have round to Teresa.
Bahudeva Manusa Cha Mangalani Achintayam Akankamana Sottanam Bruhi Mangalam Uttamam.
Okay, right. Now, I've noticed that some of you, including you, Teresa, have, again, it's quite natural for the English speaker to, even ones from Ireland, do you see this word cha? And you want to make it cha, because in English we don't have something ending, say, a monosyllable ending in a short ah. We just wouldn't do in English. But you can in Sanskrit and Pali. So it's not cha, however much the phonetics of English persuade us to do that. There's cha. Bahudeva manusa cha. Manusa cha. So remember, keep that as a very short cha, not a long cha. Right. So my screen has got jumbled. Who hasn't had a go of reciting? Roger, sorry, Roger.
Bahudeva Manusacha Mangalani Achintayam Akankamana Sutanam Bruhi Mangalamuttamam.
Okay, very good. Two things particularly good. I've been discussing the cha, and I noticed you were particularly correct and careful about making short cha. Manusa cha, very correct. And also you immediately spotted the error and corrected yourself in the first word of the second time. You start as akank and then corrected it immediately to akankamana. So good, you got those. You got that right then, with your own self-correcting feedback loop as you went along, Roger. That was good.
I was getting anxious waiting to do that, actually.
Well,
Hearing
maybe
everybody else.
as you know, if you're too relaxed, you get it wrong. If you're too anxious, you get it wrong. Just the right level of anxiety can be.
That's called the Yerkes-Dodson curve, actually.
Oh, there's a proper medical term for it, is it?
Yeah. Your peak sort of performance is at the peak of the curve. If you've got too little anxiety, as you say, it's not optimal. And too much anxiety, it's not good.
Yeah.
So it's the Yerkes-Dodson curve, it's called.
Well, how very interesting. I'm glad there's a proper name for it. Yeah, I've actually noticed that in the past with myself and others. And if there's a performance to be done, you see people, oh, I can do it. I know what to do. No problem for me. And they're just a bit overlaid back. And others, getting really anxious about it, and that the performance is bad. But that's true. Just the right amount of anxiety is very, very, very good indeed. How do you spell the first part of that? And I'll look it up.
I think if my memory's right, I think it's Yerkes.
Okay, right. I'll check. I'm very. I'll check that out. It's interesting. Okay, so I'm just looking at what builders coming and going in the house. Was there anybody who hasn't had a go? And then we can move on. Oh, Paladin. So, Paladin and Mariana. So it happens when my screen gets jumbled. Okay, Paladin.
Bahudeva Manusacha Mangalani Achintayum Kankamana Sultanam Bruhi Mangalamuttamam.
Okay, very good, very good. And finally, Mariano. You're muted, Mariano. There we are.
Bahudeva Manusacha Mangalani Achintayum Akankamana Sotanam Bruhi Mangalamuttamam.
Very nice, very nice. Not the tune I'm used to, but that was very nice indeed. Which tradition was that form of chant from?
I probably was a nun, a few centuries ago, and
Okay.
I can't remember.
So, memory of past lives with a little bit of Verdi into it, and there we are. Okay, great. So we can move on now to the Dhammapada, unless there are any other comments or queries on this one. Let me call him up. Dhammapada. Oops.
Sorry, James, I missed the beginning. Can you tell me where that verse came from?
Oh, this was the Mangala Sutta.
Okay, yeah.
Which I think you should have. I think you all have it.
Thank you.
Have you located where you're meant to be? Judy, have you kind of found out where it is?
I'll look it up later. Yeah.
Okay.
And right. Okay. And we're now going back to the Dhammapada. Yeah.
We're now going back to the Dhammapada.
Thank you.
9:6. So Mavamanyeta papasta namantamagamisati udabindu nipatena udukambhopi purati. Sorry, udukambhopi purati. Balo purati papasta tokampi achinam. So, Mavamanyeta papasa namantang agamisati. Let's just look at that line. So do not underestimate evil, or do not underestimate, what are you saying, the power of evil. What have I translated? Do not the power of acts of evil. Okay. Avamanyati. Just a very interesting word here, avamanyati. Sorry, let me just call up. There's my iPad gone to. Oh, lost my iPad. There we are. It's from our, as you know, very common, much used root man, meaning to consider or to think. As I'm sure I've told you before, it looks like our modern English word man. It's because it is man in the sense of mankind, the thinking animal. As I was mentioning earlier, Manu, primordial man, and Manushya, in Pali, Manusa. So basically thinking or considering. Incidentally, also the word mana, which is the verbal noun from it, very frequently has the meaning of pride. But although it's off, this mana in the meaning of pride is, I suppose, more often than not found in a pejorative sense. You also have a good mana, and you can take a pride in your work, a certain pride. So it's not puffed up pride, but we have a good sense of pride. Take a pride in your appearance, a pride in your work.
Sorry, you said the mana, and in Italian it will be maniera. Do you think it comes from the same, meaning, the decent way of doing things?
Oh, it's maniera.
Yeah.
Which is roughly the same kind of meaning as our English manners, as in good manners.
Yeah.
I wonder whether it is. Let me check that. That's an interesting point. I'll check that, and we'll look at it next time. Maniera. It would be nice to think that it did, but I'll check first. So, where were we? Yeah. So man. And in Sanskrit, one of the ways of forming, oh, sorry, my pen's going funny again, is manyana. Not sure if it exists in that form in Pali. Let me just check. Oops, I lost it here. Yeah. It does. I don't know if anyone can tell me why, when I call this up onto my Zoom screen, I just get a quarter page until it decides to behave itself again. There we are. So, manyana, conceit. And see, manyati, to think, manach, Latin memini, to think of mens, meneo, and so on. Manyana, and in Pali, standard phonetic variation, when you get a nya, an ny in Sanskrit, that usually turns up as an n with a tilde in Pali. So manyana, originally in Sanskrit, was not exactly conceit, just the way of thinking about yourself, way of thinking about things, like a mentation. Do you use the word? Do you have mentazione in Italian?
I think it is probably there, but not that used.
Okay, right. So, one of my favorite, it's really, I don't know why it's become such a favorite word of mine. Just look at it and, sorry, pen is playing up. Oh, come on. Sorry about that. Ah. Here we are. Sorry, this is a real nuisance. It's sometimes writing and sometimes not. Okay. So okay, this is Sanskrit. It would be, but in Pali, it would be Atava Manyana. So this is the Atma, meaning self, which is Pali Atta. Shantideva, in his Bodhicharyavatara, warns us against the severe vice of Atma Ava Manyana. Ava means off or down. And it's cognate with our English word off and the Latin ab, meaning away. So if you Ava Manyana means down-minding, putting yourself down in your own mind. And we are warned in Buddhist teaching, beware of saying, I'll never achieve anything, I can't do it, it's beyond me. It becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy, persuading yourself that you can't do it. And you're severely warned against it. And Shantideva put that in the form, Atmava Manyana, Atma Ava Manyana, self-down-minding. In other words, putting yourself down in your own imagination. Even Virgil, was it Virgil's possunt quia posse videntur? They can because they think they can. They can because they imagine themselves to be able. So you can just, if you put yourself, you have an imagination of yourself as being unable, of course, that imagination becomes self-fulfilling. Now here, or underestimating yourself. But if you just look at the Sanskrit and the Pali form of it, down-minding, putting yourself down in your own mind, is quite forceful. And here, it's ma avamanyeta. Little part ma means do not. It's the negative imperative. Do not put down in your mind. In other words, here it means underestimate. Do not underestimate evil, meaning the power of evil. And he goes on to explain, even small wrongful acts, they will build up. So, and it takes here it's used with a genitive. I'd have expected an accusative, but it's just used with a genitive here. Mava manyeta papasa. Don't underestimate evil. Don't underestimate what evil is. The evil karma that you will be making if you do a papa act.
Can I ask a question then?
Please do, Paladin.
So is this avamanyeta is in the optative? Is that right?
I'm sorry, the voice didn't come through clearly.
Oh, avamanyeta, is that the optative?
It is, yes. It is, yeah.
Because you said that the ma negation is used with the imperative. Is it also used with the optative if it's a sort of imperative?
It would. If it's used in an imperative sense, yes. Yeah. That's a good point there. The optative is sometimes used as a polite imperative, and it's sometimes used just to indicate what might happen. If it's been used in an imperative sense, but negative imperative, you would use the prefix ma rather than na. So remember, ma is the imperative sense. It's directly cognate with the Greek, classical Greek me, meaning do not. In modern Greek, even in modern Greek, they use it.
So if it was used with na, would that suggest it was?
I'm sorry, I'm competing with bridges with a noisy grinder in the next room. Say again?
So if it was na manieta or nava manieta, would that suggest it was being used in the optative was being used in the other sense?
That would suggest that he's talking about what's actually happening in a situation where you get these people who might not underestimate evil. The na of a manieta. You're suggesting somebody might not. But here we've got the imperative plural. So this is distinctly, although it's an optative form, it's distinctly used as a negative imperative. I was saying if it's been used as in a narrative form, not telling people what to do, but saying what people might and might not do, then use a na. But in imperative meaning, you use the ma. So is that clear enough, Paladin? I sometimes get to the end of these rambling things, wondering if I've made it clear. So
yes, thank you.
Naman, thank you. Naman tang agamisati. Agamisati is a regular future. Gamisati, it will go. Agamisati, it will come. Naman tamagamisati. That won't come to me. In other words, it won't happen to me. So do not underestimate the power of evil and thinking, oh, it'll never happen to me. This is what's being said here. Note here, you've got the anuswara, the dot under the M there. Normally you wouldn't, because it's followed by a vowel, so it will be a full consonantal M. In Sanskrit, this would not be permitted, an anuswara. Here, if you see how I've done it in Devanagari, tongue with anuswara, followed by a new word starting with a vowel, would not be permitted in Sanskrit. In Pali, it is permitted for the meter. In other words, if the poet wants a long vowel here, a long syllable or heavy syllable, he can, I hesitate to use the word, but cheat slightly and break what is otherwise the rule. Tung, in chanting, you say tung agamisati rather than what would be normal in prose, tamagamisati. Simon.
Yeah, you've separated out mung and tung here. In the version I've got, there's sandhi and it's mantang. And I did have another lovely little theory for you to knock down, which was it put manta in the feminine. That could be the accusative of what would that, something like intelligence or understanding. So intelligence or understanding won't come that way. But you've shot my fox by separating them out anyway. So I don't know, which it should be.
So I shot you again. I didn't catch because this wretched builder next door. I shouldn't say this wretched builder. Very nice builder who's doing useful work, but making a noise about it. So say that last bit again.
Yeah, but by separating them out, you've shot my fox. So you've deprived me of the chase there. So.
Have you seen it written as one word?
Mantang, yeah.
And you were saying it could be construed as an accusative?
In the feminine, yeah, that's what I've got when I looked it up. Yeah, manta is intelligence or understanding.
Okay.
It could be don't look down on evil.
It will not grow to intelligence and will not become intelligent.
Well, it won't come. Understanding won't come to you.
Okay. In that case, it would be impossible to have the accusative, because if that were the meaning, it would have to be nominative. Namanta agamisati.
Hang on 1 second. Okay, yeah, it's only the accusative. Okay, that's dealt with that one then.
Okay, right. And this manta, meaning intelligence.
Intelligence or understanding, it says here, yeah.
I've got mantana, and there's, let me just see if I can find, I won't do it now, but let me just check, is the manta? I don't think I've seen that word, meaning intelligence, before. Not in Sanskrit either. Have you found the word manta then meaning intelligence?
Yes, I haven't checked it on the PED, but in that little app that I sent you, it's got all the different meanings. So the first one is that to me, which is obviously what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Got, mantra, scripture, sacred hymn, Veda, etc. Spells, or grammar ending with the letter M, anta, and then wisdom, understanding, intelligence.
Bye, Mariano.
So mant plus R with a macron as a feminine standalone noun.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a new one on me. I don't see it in the PTS dictionary. Okay. But let me see what I can find there. But it doesn't. I think it's much simpler than that. I think here it just means that will not come to me, meaning it can't happen to me. Can't happen to a nice person like me. Well, yes, it jolly well can. I think it's intended to be as simple as that. But I'll check what you said anyway.
It certainly is, except that as a standalone line, it doesn't make much sense. Don't think lightly of evil. It will not come to it. Thinking, heavy quotes. It will come to me. This is about bad things happening rather than you doing evil. So it's back to that issue about whether papa is evil of the will or is a bad result, which we would normally talk about, which we dealt with the last time. Yeah,
because we often see it used in both meanings, the doing of evil and bad things happening. We do see papa used in both. I think we had this discussion a few weeks ago.
I haven't seen papa as in a bad thing happening other than this section.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we had a fairly detailed discussion on that last time. Here, clearly, it means an act of evil, a volitional act. And he's saying, if you do a lot of, things that aren't quite right, don't underestimate the power, the cumulative power of small acts of papa. And the reason he's putting it that way, of course, is explained in full in the following line.
If it's some small acts of papa, then it doesn't make so much sense to say it won't come to me. What won't come to you? You're doing it. It's not something in the future. Namantang agamisati is to do with vipaka, isn't it?
It is. Okay, yeah, I take your point. I suspect, again, I'm kind of thinking out loud here. I suspect that the notion of the karma of evil acts, irrevocably getting you sooner or later, was just so well embedded in the thinking of the time that it was probably understood that that means the result of the papa that I do. See if you can knock that one down next time round, Simon. That's my understanding of it. So it's clearly, if something nasty happens to you, he's not saying don't underestimate anything nasty that happens to you, which doesn't make sense. He's saying don't underestimate the powerful effect of any papa that you do, thinking, oh, it won't come back to me. So here, I think clearly understood. Okay, maybe it'll be less clearly as I think about it more, but for me, it's understood that the results of it, the vipaka, won't come back to me. I look forward to round 2 of this joust next time then, Simon. So, Uda bindu nipatena uda kumbhopi purati. So, Uda, water, cognate with our English word wet and water. It's etymologically the same word. Bindu just means a drop. Nipata is just falling down. Nipata, down falling. So Uda bindu nipatena, by the water drop falling, in other words, by the steady dripping of drops of water, Uda kumbhopi purati, mean even the water pot will be filled. Simon.
Just another little point here. It occurred to me that this is always rendered as kind of little by little, drop by drop, you know, that one pollutes oneself or one accumulates this this evil, which is obviously the sense of it. But the ending is the instrumental singular. So you'd think it would be unda binduni patehi, like drop, you know, the drops fill up by the drops filling up the pot.
Ah, okay.
I'm just thinking whether, before you give me the correct answer, whether this has also got the sense of like the final little drop will get you. That, you know, you've done all of this and then by means of the final little drop, it tips over into vipaka, which you won't like.
It'll break the camel's back, as it were. Yeah, okay. The reason, I mean, it's a good point, but the reason I tend against it here, you could rephrase this to be using the instrumental plural, meaning the pot is filled by drops of water. You could say udu binduhi, that's instrumental, uda binduhi, by drops of water, uda kumbhopi purati. But this is and I take your point, it would almost be more logical, uda binduhi, by drops of water. I think he needed a couple more syllables in this line, you know. So by the dripping, the nipata is dripping. Well, it means falling, but here clearly in the sense of, you know, drop by drop, dripping, by water drop falling, meaning water drop dripping. Okay, maybe it's to your highly analytical mind here, Simon. He could have expressed it better. I think this is one of those ones that's got a slightly soft focus. By the dripping of drops of water, by the falling of drops of water. But I agree with you, more accurately, he might have said Uda binduhi. Roger.
Nipata, is what about the sutta Nipata in the Khuddaka Nikaya?
Ah, right.
It's different?
Okay. It's all kind of where they've been fallen into one place.
Oh, it's the
and
same
so
derivation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same words, really.
It's the same word.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay.
it can, sometimes these kind of very basic roots like pat, meaning to fall, can have these, you know, different meanings that have, you know, just over the course of the development of the Indo-European languages. For example, if you fall in, something can fall in the sense of collapse, or you can fall in, you know, falling into water. But when the sergeant shouted, "Get fell in," or "Squad fall in," you see, it's got a completely different meaning there. He's got to arrange yourself in order on parade. I'd forgotten that point that you raised, but let me just look. So the nipata, rather like a nikaya as well, just means a falling in, a coming together. But nipata, oops. You've done it again to me. Come on. Oh. Why is it doing this? There we are. So, I've done it again. Sometimes you've just got to suck it up, Look at Nipati, so a falling down. Oh, the quotes here are the very verse that we're doing now, with the Bindu Nipata. The Dipti Nipata, a glance, a falling of the vision, then descending, and then section of a book. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit unsatisfactory, and you've got to do a bit of a mental gymnastic to see why. Simon, please.
Just to say, there's another lovely little bit in, it's somewhere in the Dhammapada, but it's describing the mind, and it's yatta kama nipatino, so alighting or falling where it wants, where it pleases.
Exactly, yes, I remember that one. Yeah, the mind, like the monkey mind, rising and falling where it wants. Kama nipatino. What was the word before kama?
Yatta. Wheresoever, like yatta kama nipatino.
Oh, okay, yes, the kama nipatino. Yes, desire falling. In other words, alighting, going, fastening on whatever whatever takes its fancy at the time. Yeah, exactly. So that would be descending, the idea of a bird flying around looking for food, and then, oh, I like that one, and down it flies. Let me just check. I'm fairly sure nipata the basic meaning is going down or flying down in Sanskrit. Falling down, descending, alighting.
Ikubody translates it in the Sutta Nipata as a compilation.
Yeah, that's right. So it's the idea of a corpus or a body of work. Why the nipata was chosen for that meaning is slightly beyond me. Nikaya is more obvious, Majjhima Nikaya, Dika Nikaya, and so on. That is more obvious, but that's actually something we can look at when we get to the word in the next line, achinam. It's from
it had as one of the meanings an accidental kind of coming together. I don't know if in the definition, I wondered if it was just kind of because it's one of those collections that's a bunch of stuff that's got no reason to be together, just being shoved into a anthology.
Which is what the Sutta Nipata, in a way is, isn't it? If that was the thinking behind it, that would have displayed an admirable degree of honesty as to how it would. It's like a rag bag, if you can't think where to put it, that's the bag to put it in. That's a nice point there, Paladin. Yeah, because this kind of ragtag compilation. So anyway, it's just gone one now. So we'll next week then we shall resume with Dhammapada 9.6. Okay, very good. So I will see you next week then. Okay, thank you then. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, James.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.